Already done.
Va bene così. I know that's the wrong language.
All good.
La 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 la. Welcome, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, Zoomiverse and YouTubeverse.
Welcome, everybody, in person and virtually.
We begin our tefillah tonight on page 24. Shalom Aleichem. As we welcome the ministering angels, those mysterious beings that we don't see but we feel, we say shalom, welcome, peace be to you, peace be to us. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashareh, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch.
Bochem l'shalom,
Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Arichuni l'shalom, Malachei Shalom, Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashareh, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch 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 Baruch.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to those who are in person. Shabbat Shalom to those who are here on Zoom. And we can take a nice deep breath in and out as Shabbat rolls over us. One of the points of Shabbat is to collapse our world. Our world often seems wide, it seems big, it seems too large to grab hold of. It seems that we've got troubles in our backyard and troubles far away, and those seem not connected. But as we know, especially these past few weeks with what's been happening in Ukraine, the world is interconnected, and it's smaller than we think. And Shabbat is meant to take distance and make it not, make it nil. Shabbat is supposed to take a vast world and make it smaller. For 25 hours, we are all together as one. The Jewish community and the whole world taking a collective breath in and out, in and out. And in doing so, we get what is called the taste of the world to come, Me'ein Olam Haba. And so whether you're paying attention to the things in your backyard or the things far away, know that Shabbat is a time to gain strength to deal with them and to understand that we are all woven, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, in a web of destiny. And in doing so, to see that this vast world is actually quite small. And so we're going to move now into ushering in Shabbat formally by lighting our candles tonight. We're going to join together on page 2 and 3. And tomorrow, Ben will be called up as a bar mitzvah to the Torah. And so in honor of that, I want to call him with the 3 other nuclear members of his family to come join us on the bima as they prepare to light the candles tonight.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
So we're going to turn to page 5 and join together in the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen. We come together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon inchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh hashavat. L'chaim. Amen.
Ben, l'chaim, take a little sip of that wine on behalf of all of us. Yishar koach. Well done.
Awesome. All right. You guys can take a seat.
We'll get to continue to celebrate with Ben and Ben's family in the morning.
We're going to join together on page 20. And as we do, I want to welcome all those who just came in from next door. For those who are curious, we had a class that we offered for the first time ever in our congregation for new members. It's a 3-part class where we dealt with kind of 3 major themes in Judaism and then talked about how those themes manifest at the congregation to tell a little bit about kind of what our gestalt is here. What are we all about? And so for those who took part in the class, we had a dinner at, capping off that class next door. And so if you see someone you don't know and they're sticking around till the end of services, make a point to introduce yourself to them. They might be new members of our congregation or just visiting us. So we're on page 20, L'chadodi.
יאללה לך דודי,
יאללה
יאללה לקראת כלה, לקראת כלה, לה 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 לה, בני שבת, בני שבת נקרא, יאללה לה לה לך דודי, יאללה יאללה לקראת כלה, יאללה לה לה, בני שבת, בני שבת נקרא.
שמור וזכור
השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד, שמו אחד, שם ותפארת, מליך תהילה, מליך תהילה.
Let's hear you, Let's hear you. We're on verse number 5, Hitorari. Let's hear you.
תרד בלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה וכמונה עם סגולה You could dance a little in your seat. Yada la la la, likrat kala. Yada la la la, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nikra bela. One more time. La 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 la, likrat udi. Yalla la, yada la la la, likrat kala. Yada la la la, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat.
Remain standing. We turn to page 28.
Join us.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
We're seated together. Bottom of page 31. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch Atah Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim. Page 32. Beit Israel,
עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו יקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו, וברך נגד יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד.
Page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We're on page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there's a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Page 40.
Here we go. Ya ila 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 la la. Ya ila 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 la la. Ya la la la. Ya la la. Ya ila. Ya la ila ila. Micha mafai.
Clap your hands with us.
אדוני את יעקב, יהלום יד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, קהל ישראל.
Turn our attention to the screen or to page 42 as we join together in this prayer for the evening, Hashkivenu.
That is going to be crazy town high. Better.
Hashkivenu
Ya Eloheinu
Shalom. It has to
Join
ease
with
us
us.
into rest, right? Here we go. Try it again.
Hashkivenu Ya Eloheinu
Shalom. Keep that going. Keep it going.
Hashkivenu Ya Eloheinu Shalom. Hashkivenu Ya Eloheinu Shalom. Hashkivenu Ya Eloheinu Shalom. Hashkivenu Ya Eloheinu In a moment, we're going to turn to page 46. As we do, we're going to move into our silent meditation, our silent Amidah after this opening prayer. You can either pray the traditional words on the page through page 64 or whatever words are in your heart, knowing that this is the time to say the words that are true for you, not just to concentrate on the page if you choose to do so, but to probe yourself for the words that are deep within, etched on your bones. We rise together, page 46.
Adonai, Sefata תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha.
So it's our custom to come back together with words of peace. But it felt right tonight to lift up our words of intention for peace, for a peaceful future. To really speak to what it is that our hands need to be part of to make it happen. We're not supposed to talk about the work on Shabbat, but we can't not talk about it. So we sing together these words to set our intention that our work should be sourced from a place of chesed, first and foremost, from a place of love.
Olam chesed yibane, olam chesed yibane, yarara, ilai, ilalala, ilai. Olam chesed yibane, ilai, 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 yarara, ilai. Olam chesed yibane, yarara, ilai, 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 yarara, la, la, ilai, ya. Olam chesed yibane, yarara, ilai, yarara, ilai. Olam chesed yibane. I will build. And if we build this world from love, then God will build, and God will build this world from love.
We move ahead in our service to page 253. And in our hearts and minds, we think of those that are in need of healing. And we keep those names inside of our hearts. And when I look around the room, if you'd like to add them out loud, you may, as well as folks on Zoom, if you'd like to put their names in the chat. Mishaberak avotenu vimotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, hu yivarech et hacholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. This is your opportunity. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say, Amen. Please join me. Misheberach avotenu mekor abracha limotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor abracha liavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Help me remember that I just turned Ed off because of the humming. We'll figure out next week what that humming is. I think it's a bum chord or something like that. So, Shabbat Shalom. This week's Torah portion begins with an enigma. It starts off with a letter that is smaller than every other letter in the chapter. Now, the first word in this week's portion is what actually gives the whole book of Leviticus its name in Hebrew, Vayikra, and he, Moses, called. And it begins by talking about all of the different ways that Jews in the ancient world used to praise God. And for the most part, it was through the sacrificial system. People would bring an animal. That animal would be killed and flayed. Its blood would be poured on the altar. Pieces of that animal would be burned. And people would find whatever they were looking for, whether it be forgiveness or an avenue to say thanksgiving or an avenue to celebrate a certain holiday through the act of sacrificing that animal. Different animals, different ways of sacrifice would be its own language to ensure that people would be able to speak to God correctly. But when Moses begins to talk about how that sacrificial system begins, when he begins to say to the people, this is the procedure you do to come close to God. In Hebrew, korban means to bring close. This is the procedure that you will do to connect with God. Moses, in a way, stops. He stutters. He doesn't call with a full-throated voice. Instead, that last letter of the word "and he called" is half the size of every other letter. Now, if I had a picture of the Torah, I would show it to you. But Vayikra ends in an aleph, which normally is, if you were to paint a line, if you were learning to write, would be the same top and bottom of every other word. But it's shrunken and placed in there, almost like a puzzle for our ancient rabbis to be able to figure out exactly what is going on. Now, Moses is known as being a Nav Me'od, one of the great humble people in the history of the Jewish people. So humble that God actually approaches him because he knows that Moses will be receptive to the message, not trying to take up more space than he actually is needed to. And so for centuries, and in fact millennia, the most common explanation for why Moses' call at the beginning of the book of Leviticus is a call that has a muted last letter is because it's supposed to symbolize the fact that although Moses is leading the Jewish people, he actually doesn't put himself front and center. He is humble. He calls, but with a certain amount of restraint. But this week I've been thinking about, what does it mean to call? What does it mean to have a sacred task? And I realized that many of us, especially this week, when we call out, are calling out with a muted last letter as well. Many of us can't call out whole-throated, because when we look at the ills of the world around us, we actually aren't totally sure how to do it. I've been asked this week a lot by people, what can I do about what's going on in Ukraine? And I want to be able to full-throatedly give them an answer, an avenue in which to make a difference in this world. But short of saying, look, there's some good organizations in which to give money, I'm not totally sure whether I have an answer that I can scream full-throated. The magnitude of the task before us to help the people of Ukraine, the magnitude of the fear before us of what this means for the future, the magnitude of the need before us of 2 million refugees who have left their home doesn't allow me with confidence to call out and to say, I know the path toward the future. Instead, all I can say with that muted aleph like Moses is that there's a blurry vision of a future that I want to see, and I have no idea how to get from here to there. Moses' task was momentous in shaping the Jewish people's religious life, and he couldn't call out with a full-throated voice, and neither can we. I was party to a discourse online today about a group of rabbis who are actually going to the Polish border to try to make a big difference, to try to hear people out, to try to give counseling, to see and to come back. But even that act is imperfect. Because for every rabbi who made a good argument about why they should go, there were other rabbis, especially those who lived in Europe, especially those who lived in Eastern Europe, who were telling them not to come, who were saying to them, look, you're going to take a spot on an airplane. You're going to take a spot in a hotel. You, without the ability to speak the native language, are going to need an interpreter that could be used to help someone fill out a visa form. You shouldn't show up. Now, who was right? Those rabbis whose heart were breaking for the people of Ukraine who wanted to go? Who wanted to testify when they got back to what they saw, to move the hearts and minds of everyone around them, to hope to soften our heart and heart so that we might open our hand and open our purse to those who are the most in need? Or those who said to them, there are other ways to give, and although you feel like this is the most obvious way, when there is pain in the world, you are taught to show up. stay far away, because that's the best thing that you can do. I don't know the answer, though I'm swayed by the stay far away argument. But what I will say is that the discourse of these rabbis and most people who want to do something, of having a breaking heart and wanting to call up, but having that muted call, I imagine is the way that most of us feel today. We want to go to rallies, but we wonder, are they really going to do anything? We are going to very soon have a flag up in front of our congregation that is going to be a flag, a Ukrainian flag that says Jews United for Ukraine, to show that we stand with the people of Ukraine. But is that going to change anything? Is that going to move the needle? It's an imperfect call. Even giving money is imperfect, because faced with the magnitude of the problem before us, what exactly does our little bit of money make a difference? But what I'll say to you is that Moses probably had those same doubts that we have now, and he still called out, albeit imperfectly. He still advocated to his people, albeit imperfectly. He still proclaimed his truth, albeit imperfectly. And every single one of us can't be so crippled by the magnitude of the problem before us and by the knowledge that when we cry, our aleph is going to be shrunken too. Our claim is going to be imperfect. We are going to make mistakes. We are not going to put the resources where the resources might be needed because we don't have a crystal ball. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't act as well. It doesn't mean that we can't cry out with the closest full-throated voice that we have and act with the most conviction that we can find, even if we know that a piece of the magnitude of the problem and of our knowledge, of our imperfect knowledge of how to fix that problem, will mute it. We can call too. And when we do, our broken calls, our shrunken olives will merge together so that our cry, which may not be loud enough, can merge with the other cries around us and maybe add a little bit more wholeness to this broken world. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to turn to page 282 as we rise together for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kamishbechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
We pause for a moment at the conclusion of our service to think of those that we've loved and who we've lost. This Shabbat, we remember the following individuals: Philip Ackerman, Solomon Behar, Harold Brandman, Prue Chelwick, Louis Chipkin, Harry Cohen, Babette Fortune, Senta Fox, Leonard Grotti, Eva Halpern, Sarah Hoffman, Henry Hirsch Coulter, Anita Cassell, Bill Kaufman, Julia Klein, Seymour Krevlin, Vera Lerner, Thelma Malkin, Bruce Menkes, Richard Nealis, Benjamin Peretz, Miriam Garcia Pedroza, Julian Rosenthal, Jesse Selter, Brian Sutton Smith, Mark Sutton Smith, and Florence Weinstock. We also think of those who are in their Shiva and Shloshim periods of mourning. Lenny DeCamp, aunt of Johanna Rosenfield. Sheila Sholak, mother of Mark Sholak. Salvador Marchese, uncle of Laura Marchese. And Sheila Richter, mother of Amy Clayman. In addition, I'll invite anyone who's present to share names of people that might not have been on this list or people for whom you are observing a 1 year, what you are within 1 year of mourning for. We turn to page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, b'yamad divrach yirtzeh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayachon uv'yom echon uv'chayet echol Beit Yisrael, b'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mavarach le'olam ulamei almaya, yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitnarmam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barechu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechamata, tamiram b'yama v'imru amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'arko Yisrael v'imru amen. O seshalom b'romav, huya seshalom aleinu ve'arko Yisrael v'imru amen. Please be seated. So before we move into our closing song, a few announcements. You want to talk a little bit about tomorrow as I turn Ed back on?
Sure. Tomorrow morning, Shabbat, exciting. 10 a.m. services. This is the rabbi's job.
I got it. So tomorrow morning, we are going to join together in services, 10 a.m. as we celebrate Ben as he becomes bar mitzvah. And Ben, your sister was one of my first students that I ever celebrated on the Bima. And so to do it with you and with your family is an extraordinary and really fun experience. I can't wait for tomorrow. In addition, we've got a number of other really exciting things happening this weekend. The funny thing about our community, and I make this joke all the time, is that Purim lasts like 2 weeks at TNT. And so we're going to begin Purim on Sunday morning with a Megillah reading for families at 11:30. And then we're going to have our Purim Carnival at 12. Religious school starts at 10 a.m. that morning as well. And then Purim itself is on Wednesday night. Join together. It's an intergenerational reading. It happens to be our Hebrew high school program is that night as well. So the students will be organically here. Plus, we've got other adult readers. And I created, I think, a really fun activity for us all to do. We're going to tell the Purim story, in addition to reading the Megillah, through pop songs from the 60s until today. And it's going to be bar-style Name That Tune trivia. And pro tip, the only way you can win is if you're on an intergenerational team. I made it that hard. And so find someone that is a teenager finds someone who's an adult,
Yep.
and then maybe you'll have a chance of winning the Name That Tune.
Yeah, it doesn't have to just be a teenager,
Yeah,
right? I see a Taylor Swift fan potentially over there.
yeah.
Shh, don't tell anyone she's on there.
And then on the following Saturday night, is our Purim Spiel. It's called Mothgilla. That's the theme this year. It's using the music of Paul Simon, and it's going to be kind of playing off your favorite NPR shows, which is really a Megillah reading that can only be done in Montclair and Brooklyn.
That's right.
And
all the music, did you say?
yeah,
Okay.
Paul Simon, yeah. So
Simon.
in addition, one more program I want to plug. Sunday night, we've got a group called the Jerusalem Open House coming to the congregation. Who are they? They are the LGBTQ Center of Jerusalem. They're the ones who put on the Pride Parade. They're the ones who give counseling to youth. They're the ones who fight in the Knesset to make sure that the louder, more Orthodox voices in Israel don't take away any rights of theirs and, in fact, allow themselves to get more rights. And so some of their leadership is coming to our congregation. It's going to be at 7:30 here on the Bima or virtual. Please, please, please join us. We would love to see you. Yes? So you haven't seen... You got it. speak in the microphone.
Because of the Zoomiverse.
So you haven't seen in the Iggeret yet, but there's a women's Seder here, in person, April 7th. We're going to have it hybrid for those that are feeling, not quite ready, but April 7th, it will be in the social hall, big space, lots of room. So look for it and sign up.
Yes, and you actually reminded me, we are having our second night Seder also, our regular second night Seder. We're bringing that back after COVID. So just so people know, actually we're not after COVID, it's still COVID, but we feel comfortable enough to bring it back. And so we will be bringing it back this year. Because of COVID, we will be condensing the Seder all together and then eating afterwards. That way, if you don't feel comfortable eating in a group, but you still want to join us, you can do the Seder fully with us, and then anyone who stays for dinner can stay for dinner, and there's a separate registration rate for those who just want to be Seder only.
Same thing for the women's Seder.
Diane,
Dinner
but
at the
yes,
end.
you got to speak into the microphone. Oh, membership Shabbat.
Membership
Yes.
Shabbat.
Okay. So on Friday, April 1st, we have our membership Shabbat dinner after services. We have before that a Tot Shabbat with a dinner also. So bring your young children to the Tot Shabbat if you want to stay again and have another dinner. But, come.
Any more
So,
announcements?
with that,
That was a long announcement.
we are going to close tonight with the singing cantor of...
We had to get ourselves ready for Purim, so we're going to do the text that's going to come up on the screen. My personal favorite Purim melody, which comes right out of the Megillah reading, La Yehudim Hayta Ora, B'simcha V'sason Bikar. There was joy, there was gladness, there was celebration for the Jews of that place and moment. May it be for us as well. La Yehudim hayta ora, besimcha b'sason bikar. You can sing it with me. I know you can. La Yehudim hayta ora, besimcha b'sason bikar. Second part. Ken tihyeh lanu. May it be for us. One more time. Clap together. La Yehudim hayta ora, besimcha b'sason bikar. La Yehudim hayta ora, besimcha b'sason Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Edward and Gilad. Shabbat Shalom,
Thank
friends.
you. And so make sure, grab a bite to eat outside if you feel comfortable eating. Shabbat Shalom, please introduce yourself to someone you don't know. If you see someone that looks new,